Hello everyone, my name is Ronak and you're watching VectoArt. So in today's video, we will take a look on how to create checkboxes in WinUI 3. A checkbox is used to select or deselect action items. It can be used for a single item or for a list of multiple items that a user can choose from. It has three different states and we will be talking about those states further in the video. And for those who have not subscribed to my channel, please do subscribe to my channel. It means a lot. It motivates me to create more such videos and keeps the channel going. So moving on, let's start first by creating a new project and selecting blank app WinUI 3 desktop project. If you do not see it in your recent templates, you can always search, and if you don't find it even after searching, then you can go through my previous videos where I will leave a link in the description where I have explained how to install the Windows App SDK in Visual Studio. So moving ahead, let's select this and click next. Give this project a name. Let's call it Checkbox Demo and click on Create. I think the project is done, loaded. Okay, let's start first by creating a checkbox. So there are two options. First one is via the designer, and second one will be from the code behind. So let's start first by the designer. So let's remove this button. I don't need it. I have removed the button, but the button had a event. So let me get rid of that as well. And let's start coding the checkbox. To speed up the process, I'll just paste the code that I have, but you can always start from scratch. So, okay, so we have our checkbox ready. Let's run this and see it in action. So here we go. We have our checkbox ready. Okay, so next is bind to is checked. Use the is checked property to determine whether the checkbox is checked or cleared. You can bind the value of the is checked property. For example, is checked to another binary value. However, because is checked is a nullable uh, Boolean value, you must either use a cast or a value converter to bind it to a Boolean property. This depends on the actual binding type you are using, and you will find the example here. And in this example, the is check property of the checkbox to agree to terms of service is bound to is enabled property of a submit button. So let's create this. So we'll do some small changes to our markup here. So let's make um, some small changes here. So we have our checkbox content, everything is done. So let me remove this. Let's add a button, content, submit is enabled. Let's bind it to Boolean. Terms. Let's copy the checkbox name dot is checked, and let's specify the mode as one way. Okay, let's ensure one way binding, and let me close the button. Okay, next let me run this and let's see this binding in action. And we have bound the buttons enabled property or attribute with the checkbox. So if I select this, it will be enabled, and if I deselect, it will be disabled. Next, we will talk about handle clicks and checked events. To perform an action when the checkbox state changes, you can handle either the click event or the checked and unchecked events. The click event occurs whenever the checked state changes. If you handle the click event, use the isChecked property. Um, isChecked property to determine the state of the checkbox. The checkbox and the checked and unchecked events occur independently. If you handle these events, you should handle both of them to respond to state changes in the checkbox. In the following example, we will show handling the click event and the checked and unchecked event. Multiple checkboxes can share the same event handler. So in the next example, we will create 4 checkboxes for selecting pizza toppings. The 4 checkboxes share the same click event handler to update the list of selected topics. So let me quickly go ahead and paste in the code that I have, and you can take a look at it. So here I have the stack panel, and we have a text box called pizza toppings. Then we have a checkbox, um, pepperoni checkbox, and it has a click event. And if you see, observe, we have the same click event for all the checkboxes. And then we have different names for each checkboxes and different content. And finally, we have 2 text blocks. So let's make the changes in the code behind. In the code that I have. So now if I run the application, so this event that we have, it examines the checkboxes to see which ones are checked, and it updates the list of selected toppings. So as I check each of the checkboxes, the labels are or the text block is updated. Okay. Next, we use the intermediate stage. The checkbox control inherits from toggle buttons and can have these states. One is the checked, then next one is unchecked, and the third is the intermediate. We just saw the checked and unchecked. For the checkbox to report the intermediate stage, you must set the is 3 state property to true. When the option can be grouped, you can use an intermediate checkbox to represent the whole group. Use the checkbox intermediate state when a user selects some but not all sub items in the group. For example, so we have a checkbox, we have the intermediate state, the checked state, the unchecked, and is 3 state to true. Um, so now let me go to the code behind. So we have our option checked, which is called from the second checkbox, the third, and the fourth. And then we have the option unchecked function, which will call the set checked state function. And then we have the select all checked function, which will set the is checked. So let me run this application. So here you can see we have the select all. Then we have select option 1, option 2 and option 3. So as you select and unselect the select all checkbox, all the child checkboxes will be checked and unchecked respectively. But if you select an individual checkbox or the child checkbox, then you see that the select all checkbox goes to an intermediate state. So this is the example for selecting an intermediate state. So here you can see if you go to our XAML code, we have the first checkbox which is having the is3 state property set to true, which is required to for a checkbox to go to intermediate state. Then we have these functions which do their respective jobs of selecting and unselecting the child checkboxes. And yeah, so that was it. Hope you all liked watching this video. If you do, please do subscribe to my channel. It means a lot. Thank you. Bye bye.